One thing we did learn is that both fighters aren't answering the big question that many boxing fans and media want to know. What's going to happen with the winner? Are they going to stay at 154 or are they going to move up? It wasn't answered. Really, anything of significance wasn't really, answered. So I guess let's go do it this way. Let's go talk about the fighters. Starting with Brian Castaño, 17-0-1 with 12 KOs. Credible wins over Patrick Teixeira. He went to a draw with Erislandy Lara. I believe I had him winning that fight. Who won that fight in your opinion, for those who've seen it? Michel Soro, split decision. He's listed at 5'7.5". Currently holding the WBO title at 154 pounds. Jermell Charlo, 34-1 with 18 KOs. That one loss right there, I don't think he lost to Tony Harrison in that first fight. Beautiful resume with Jason Rosario, Tony Harrison in a rematch. First Tony Harrison, Austin Trott was on his last legs. Spark Erickson Lubin out in 1 round. I was there. Charles Hatley was a credible name. He was losing the John Jackson fight, as you can see, even the cards, before he got the knockout, got him out of there. Venus Martirosyan was a very credible fight. Gabriel Rosado, that win now means a whole lot more. If you covered that fight or remember that fight back then, that fight means a whole lot more now. That win is much more significant. Dennis Douglin, Francisco Santana, these are some very, very good wins. And for him not to be unanimously on all the pound-for-pound lists is a bit outrageous. So if you don't know who's going to be fighting, well, both fighters are going to be fighting to be undisputed in the 4-belt era at 154 pounds. The first ever PBC Al Heyman fighter to ever, go for undisputed. And better believe that PBC Al Heyman's going to do his best to keep those fights or those belts in-house. For example, Erickson Lubin, after defeating Jelly Belly Jason Rosario last week or the week before on Tank Davis versus Mario Barrios pay-per-view, he's the WBC #1 contender. The mandatory. WBA don't count that bullshit organization. And Charlo's the super champion. He don't have a mandatory. The IBF #1 ranked is Bakram Martzaliev. We don't know. Is he the mandatory? Because normally if a fighter's ranked #1 by the IBF, that means they're a mandatory. What's going on with that? I'm a little bit out of the loop. And then, of course, he's fighting Brian Castaño. Tim Tszyu defeated a Steve Spark earlier today. It was supposed to be Tim Tszyu versus Mick Zarafa, but Mick Zarafa pulled out. For those who don't really know, it was a very, very significant fight that was supposed to happen. But nonetheless, Tim Tszyu, son of Constance, was building a nice little, following for himself. Now, I don't expect Jermell Charlo to go over to Australia, but Tim Tszyu and his team has already talked about coming over here. And Tim Tszyu is likely going to fight Magomed Kurbanov to be the mandatory for the WBO title, whoever wins between Charlo and Castaño. But here's the question. What mandatory is going to come first? I believe that Lubin is going to be the first mandatory, but if the IBF, you have to defend that motherfucker or they're going to strip your ass. So Tim Tszyu, should lobby, somebody pointed out earlier, for the WBO interim title. Basically, the 154-pound division is pretty deep and is top-heavy. For example, Charlo, Lubin, Sergio Garcia is supposed to be moving to 160, but he's still right there. Jason Rosario, Jelly Belly, he's going to have some issues because now people just punch him in the stomach. Sebastian Fundora's moving up, meaning in the rankings. Julian J-Rock Williams is still in the mix, waiting for him to come back. Jarrett Hurd, he's going to be staying at 154 pounds, is looking like. Even though he fought Luis Arias at 160, right? I don't remember. Kurbanov, Liam Smith, Jack Kuke. These are relevant, names. Now, I'm not going to say all these names are all the best names, but relevant names. Bakram Martzaliev. And Fowler's up there now. These are just names to look at. Pat Teixeira, Carlos Adames, who was also on Tank Davis versus Barrios pay-per-view. So, in my opinion, if Charlo wins, I think it's going to be Lubin next. If Castaño wins, don't be surprised if it's a rematch clause for him to fight Charlo again. That's a question that, I think that, media and fans should be asking. Is there a rematch clause? Because Brian Castaño's no joke. Pressure fighter. Can't really call him a power puncher, but he will get the volume up there. He has the ability to outwork you. But Charlo's good. I'm predicting a Charlo win. I was getting ready to say a Charlo knockout, but I'm not ready to go there yet. But I will say I'm leaning towards Charlo 60-40. And we don't know if he's going to be moving up in weight or not. Oh, and by the way, I haven't even mentioned Erislandy Lara. We don't even know what the hell he's doing. He's just been doing a whole bunch of nothing the last few years since he lost to Jarrett Swift Hurd. So I would love to see Charlo versus Lara. I ain't going to lie to you. I would love that fight. That would be a perfect send-off, one final fight if, Lara would retire. Now, Erislandy Lara is listed at 38 years old. Notice I say listed. Because he's been around forever, yo. He's been around since I was a boy. Like, I remember, in college when Erislandy Lara was around. So that 38 that they listed him at is a little bit mischievous. Because them Cubano years, man, I don't know. For example, do you believe that Luis Ortiz is fucking 41? Or something like that? What's his age supposed to be? I don't believe it. Or Frank Sanchez is 28? Huh? You're right. But I'm looking forward to the fight. Let's go look at the undercard. Charlo commands a lot of money. He's paid a lot of money from PBC. So I didn't expect for the undercard to be very good. And by the way, look, you'll be able to check out IBF #1 ranked Bakram Murtazaliev. He's going to be on the card. That Rolly guy, Rolando Romero, is going to be taking on Austin Dulay for the WBA bullshit interim belt. It's a bullshit belt. At 135, bullshit. And deep on the card, Anthony, can you dig it? Yidget is on that joint. We're not going to be able to see this fight, though, likely. But solid card. To me personally, I'm cool with these two fights, the Romero versus Dulay and Bakram Murtazaliev versus Kari Gray. Have I ever seen this guy fight before? 16-5 with 12 KOs? Have I ever? He fought Gary Spike O'Sullivan, lost to him in the House of Blues. Okay, well, that says a lot. All right. Well, we pretty much know what we're in for. We pretty much know what we're in for. Charlo's last fight, of course, was against Jason Rosario. That was 10 months ago. Okay. Well, actually a year. No, September of last year. By the time he gets in, 10 months ago. Before that, Tony Harrison, Jorge Cota. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes from here. Because, as I said, if he doesn't move up, I believe that they're going to go with Charlo versus Lubin, too. And they'll definitely pay-per-view that. Like, I smell it. I'm smelling it. That's what it seems like. So, listen, I'm going to get up out of here. I've been covering boxing since 5 o'clock this morning since I covered Tim Tszyu versus Steve Spark, and I watched that whole card pretty much on ESPN+. So I need to step away from this computer for a little bit and go put this chicken in the oven. Tomorrow, we're going to be here for the UFC 264 Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 3. So expect for UFC coverage on the channel. What do you guys have been arguing for an hour and a half? What is going on today, chat? Marlon, what's going on with you today, mate? You guys, jeez. I tell you, boxing bring the worst out of people sometimes, especially when it comes to social media. My gosh. And Dream Chaser, I don't know what's going on with you guys. I'm staying out of it. I'm going to go put this chicken in the oven. Take a time out. Please like the video. We'll be here with a stream of something tomorrow. Lord knows, I don't know what. I believe it's the UFC 264 press conference also before I bounce. Pacquiao versus Spence press conference is coming up. Expect that. So whenever that happens, we're going to be on it. All right? I'm Teacher Controversy with FightView360.com. Please subscribe.